and welcome to the New World Review. I'm Grand Line Waifu, and I'm gonna hit you in the face with butts. There are so many butts. Look how happy Bisky is. Now look at how happy Hisky is. It's been a really long week, but we've heard enough about magical appendages, so let's get behind some more magic in episodes 68 and 69. We continue to use some great game mechanics to get through with a bunch of throwaway characters whose names I only learned because one of them had gravity-denying breasticles. Knowing the abilities of the one opponent I know for a fact is a real person outside of the game, and knowing that we have a Hunter x Hunter Haikyuu crossover, it's kind of exciting because we know there's a team game coming up, and well, look who it is. My favorite naked swingy boy who, for one frame, despite having a purple, glistening, wet swing there for everyone to see, was actually as smooth as a Ken doll. He soaked a swing too long and it melted away, which apparently didn't stop them from being concerned with the swing. In fact, they became more concerned with it as it rose to the occasion, as it were. And he obviously didn't care. And actually, hang on, let's go back for a second because I can't remember what his name is, but we now have two contenders for sexiest butt on Hunter x Hunter. And no, we're not talking about Killua and Gon. We're talking about that other guy whose booty we started on. What is going on with Togashi? Dude, you need to calm right down. It's maybe one of the times I really don't actually want to see those patterns because despite the other guy just outright calling Hisoka a perv, we still had a lot of butt this episode, and I now don't like that we know where Togashi's head was at because he always does this. Don't tell me when you're thinking about booty. Always. So, let's move on from booty and talk about these here pirates. They weren't and won't be particularly dangerous. I'm kind of excited by the idea of the Groundhog Day type situation for the non-player character when they return. How well does the game learn? Does it learn at all? Will Killua have to do something different? Will Gon get to punch him instead? There's no way Hisoka's leaving them without seeing what they can do. It was a really interesting issue that came up with that pirate actually, between Gon actually showing some empathy to someone who was weak but still being killed, which I understand the game showing consequences to actions, but I find it really fascinating that if the pirates aren't real people for the characters to actively decide that being set on fire and immolated, which I imagine is what would have happened, is appropriate and acceptable. The reason I find this interesting is that it tells us how close Gon and Killua are to endgame material if Togashi is using concepts that fit. There's a point in well-balanced games, ones that aren't Dark Souls, which is brutal from the start, where the big bad isn't going to let you go if you mess up. The big bad will make sure you can't get in their way again. The easiest way to do that is just to kill the opponent. Yes, it's harsh, but in a world where the conceit is everything is ultimately a game, we need to be harsh, especially since the people playing the game are supposed to be some of the most dangerous individuals on the planet. So we went from Gon caring about that to Killua, who then set the dude's head on fire. I mean, there's still such good balances for each other. There's a lot of wisdom on Killua's end about learning not to show more power than he needs to for a situation, but Gon's not going to listen to that because he's Gon. Which is great, because we immediately stepped into the Greed Olympics and the two boys showed us that they had learned their lessons well. Nothing that happened in the ring was particularly dangerous. Thinking about it and, looking it up because I never played volleyball in school. There are only usually 6 people on a volleyball team, but Sexy Butt Guy says there are 8 challenges. What's going to happen to the final 2? Let's ignore that for a bit. Volleyball Guy will probably make it an 8 on 8 if he's feeling kind. Something that I really enjoyed about this episode were the variety of artistic styles we hit. It was basically a sitcom of styles that took us from the beginning with the normal fighting in a pirate situation, through the sexy butts reveal, through Gon and Killua arguing and Bisky's cutesy look and heart eyes, and Hisky's hiskiness. Overall, the episode was this comedic jump from style to style, and I imagine if I were to check the manga, it would probably be much the same. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the chibi look of the end of the episode with those intros to things. I appreciate Rat Killua. I don't care how many times you say he's a cat, he's a rat, so there. I appreciate all the little nods to other genres that turn up in this one, and the fact that this show itself jumps from genre to genre depending on where we are in the arc. I appreciate that Togashi brings everything he is and has learned over the years to the style of the artwork he creates, and then into how to tell the kind of stories he wants to tell. Fire-breathing kids wouldn't have fit in Kurapika's arc. Everything there was dark and gloomy because it was Kurapika's arc. Everything here is Gon and Killua and the childishness of them, so it makes sense that it would be reflected in the actual art style. It's freeing and something that is actually quite unique for the show. In fact, there had been so many different styles to the episode that by the time we saw Hisoka and his specially placed tree branch, I was somewhat expecting we'd have a brief scene of his hair going from wet to floppy to poofing out into into Hisoka style. Kind of like how Beyonce did it in that movie back in... Yeah, baby, yeah, I can't remember. But, of course, we can't go there because that doesn't fully fit Hiski's style. And what does? Women randomly falling in his path that he completely ignores and his search for not boredom. I love that once he was told Hisoka was lying, Killua acted as though the idea had been his from the start in a very Killua way. Sure, he probably knew Hisoka was lying, who wouldn't? It's Hisoka. The point is that he took that information, ran with it, and thought it through. He had a good outcome too, but they weren't watching him with, I'm gonna say... Kyo? If I'm correct, please give me a thumbs up now. There's only so long this is going to work anyway, and I'm excited to see what does happen, so let's move on to episode 69. 9 of us have to win. So the tables have turned, says get. I know how to spell your name because I had to keep copying it down from Crunchyroll. Prove you're good enough to join our crew and instantly fail. With a jump, then smacked in the back with a dodgeball. Well done, old man, who's actively, intensely powerful and much faster than I am. Maybe you'll be as good as these two young teens eventually. We doubt it though. The closest you'll get will be your white eyebrows that only get more awkward the more frustrated you look. The frustration didn't last though, because we were back into the... magical world of card collecting once more. Except this time our protags care, which is a nice change. I guess the puzzle pieces are starting to be nudged together at this point, which finally, and I'm glad because giving us more context clues about how close the bad guys are getting to finishing the game is the perfect nudge to beat this here Game Master. So it sounds like Togashi's been playing some tabletop now. The thing is, if they beat the Game Master, that's how they say it, dodgeball dude, and they will ultimately, I guess, dodgeball, not volleyball, I mean, look. Anyway, if they beat the Game Master / dodgeball dude, and they will, sexy butt guy, this is him, sexy butt, and they will ultimately, I guess, because Gon's been hit in the head and he cares now, because when he gets hit in the head, suddenly he cares about things and he wants to hurt people more because he got hit in the head. I'm starting to wonder if getting hit in the head is actually the reason why he decides that he's going to defeat people. Concussion can do a lot. Anyway, when they beat the Game Master, they have to be able to hold the card they get, and they might not be able to do that without killing Bomber Guy. I'm very much at this point waiting for when Hisoka's going to double cross them. Who's the person he's looking for? Is it sexy butt Game Master, or is it going to be the Bomber? And how would he get what he wants to get out of them? Is there an item in the game that allows him to deal with Chrollo's Nen? Because we can't forget that's the thing. Hisoka hates boredom over everything else. I'd love to do a deep dive into his mind, actually. Maybe one day. I feel like that's his biggest fear, running out of people to fight or things to keep himself active. It's why he's willing to pair up with people and do whatever he can to help them improve, so that he can beat back the boredom by beating off their abilities. He has an urge to grow, just like Gon, except his urges and his growth is sexual, whilst Gon's is instinctive? Maybe. I'm still not sure what they are. Maybe just sheer fun. Maybe that's his future, to find out that actually he gets sexual enjoyment from seeing people reach their potential. That seems like something Togashi would do. Either way, we have a Gon who's been smacked down, a lot of really generic, oh my god, look at them, they're so freaking generic guys who are all very normal, and they skip the pirates who, hey, let's note that I was totally right, the pirates are real people who live in real places. It's interesting that the concept of taboo is a thing. Have they come across other characters who they thought were not real people who actually were? And does that mean Killua set a real dude, I remember his name because I'm sorry, got his head set on fire. Why didn't they have to do the task twice? Or did they do the task twice and that's why decided not to do it anymore? So he went from burning to exploding, but only one of those killed him? Sometimes Togashi switches perspective on characters for reasons I don't fully understand. Yes, says Segueres. Yes, Segueres is supposed to marvel at how far they've come, but why do we need him to understand that? Like, why do we need to understand his view on understanding that? Why do we need to know that he knows that other people know? It felt, if I'm honest, like filler that would have been just as easily served by the widened eyes and frustration of the opening of the episode before they went right in and decided to actually engage. I liked having the idea of Nen enhancing symbols teased at us. That's the kind of subtle addition I appreciate, but overall his desire to go back and train seems a little out of place and unnecessary given he has a broken back and is sitting courtside in a game he's unlikely to leave, particularly alive. So this dodgeball game. I mean, I was totally wrong in the last episode and I did get distracted by butts. It wasn't volleyball, it was dodgeball, and I feel like despite all the rules that made Gon and my head steam, which in itself is odd and weird and unfair because I've played and refereed extensive amounts of kid dodgeball in my time, I feel like he's just making up rules as they go along to help Sexy Butt win, which seems like an unnecessary advantage given his current ability. I mean, I suppose he was the one who made the referee and one of the developers of the game, so it makes sense he would find a way to up the difficulty if necessary. Knowing Jing is a fantastic addition because now Gon has his push from Dad, Sexy Butt has his interest peaked, and everyone else is standing courtside thinking, or if it's Hisoka, because Gon is Gon, he's going to catch that ball eventually, but when? I don't know, but I hope it's next episode because that's it from me. If you enjoyed this ramble about sexy butts and swings into sport, please click here, there, and everywhere. Check out the Discord, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.